Okay, so ang akong part is to give my testimony. Ingon ni Sir Wilbert, ate, 15 to 20 minutes daw. Allah, lawi kaayo. Okay, so actually, speaking, giving or any parts na mag-speak ko in front or with, especially in the church, lagi na kordam na kodayon na. But just let me teach even how many hours siguro, 1 hour or more. Wala man ko di magpagkordamon kung tubang na ako mga students, pero kung mag-speak gani, even just giving a testimony, mo ginang akong weakness. Okay, just why last time I told Sir Wilbert, sir, okay, because he asked me, hey, maybe we will give you a part in the program next time. So I told him, sir, just give me anything. You can let me sing, you can let me pray or whatever. Just don't give me anything that I will speak. Sa ingon niya, ate, okay, kaya mo ginang akong weakness. Murag dili na ako mag-carry ba? Ate, God will help you. Okay, so this morning, by the way, I'm a 14th batch missionary. Okay, I saw some of my antiques here, antique friends, okay, from 14th, 15th batch, and mga batches nga ahead of us. And my life is actually full of or many experiences. Okay, even the time before I went to join or I joined 1000 missionary movement, I already had a lot of experiences, and even before I became a Seventh-day Adventist. Okay, I'll just give you maybe some akon very short lang why before I became a Seventh-day Adventist. Actually, when I was young, I was so sickly. Okay, I had this disease. Similar siya sa, ambal nila ko very rare siya nga disease. Similar siya sa disease ni Marcos, yeah, our former president in the Philippines, Ferdinand Marcos. Very complicated siya, and I had this severe kidney problem, and it was really very painful for me to to urinate, and time will come naga-edema ko. Okay, that's why maybe my sister used to tell me, oh, those Incredible Hulk ka. Okay, nagaswell my face, my body, nagaswell, and my whole body is like full of water. Even my head, akon nga so soft. So I was in and out in the hospital. It's like maybe until when I was 8 years old, maybe, or yeah, I was in and out in the hospital. There were times that even I had to spend New Year with my mom in the hospital. And yeah, of course, we spent a lot of money for that. And I almost died. And my mom, that time, the latter part of my disease, my mom was just alone. She was just a single mom that time. And I really admire her, ang iyang, although we were not an Adventist that time, and my mom's whole family were, Roman Catholics. She was not really that devoted also, as a Roman Catholic. But, you know, my mom, she was really strong. I consider my mom a strong woman, you know, rearing two children, just my sister and I. And time came, you know, I had to spend alone. I had to stay alone in the hospital, in one of the hospital, government hospital in Iloilo. I was, I think, 8 or 9 years old that time. And I had to stay in the hospital alone because nobody, you know, had to stay with me. I don't know what happened. You know, my relatives and, you know, other families had, you know, their own, you know, busy life. Okay, so, and my mom that time, you know, being a single mom is not that easy. I know that because I've been experiencing it right now. Okay, so that time my mom had to leave me because she needs to find money in order to buy all those medicines the doctor gave to her, okay, for my medication and other stuff. So she had to leave me alone in the hospital, and then she will just ask, you know, some. I was staying in the ward, and she just ask, you know, some of the people there, you know, please watch my daughter. I was even in a dextrose that time, of course. And then, you know, she would ask them, okay, please just watch my daughter. I'll be back later in the afternoon. So it was so difficult, you know, for an 8 years old or 9 years old to be alone in the hospital with your dextrose attached on you, and, you know, even going to the toilet or, you know, eating, it's so difficult. And that time came to my mom that, you know, it was so difficult for her. Life was so difficult. She was so desperate that time because my disease was so serious, and she said I almost died. And so she, one day, she said she didn't know where she was going. She was just walking, and she was uh, walking in front of the Catholic Church, the Cathedral Church in Harrow. You know that, I don't know if I think many of you, those who are from the Iloilo city, okay, you know that big Cathedral Church in Harrow, the one in front of the plaza. She passed by there, and then she went inside. Then she just prayed sincerely to God, and she said, Lord, I surrender and I give my daughter to you. Kung ano man ang plano mo para sa iya, uh, ginatugyan ko na lang gid ang ako nga anak para sa imo. We still want her to live. Please help her to live. And then after that, it was a sincere prayer, you know. And then she said, I don't know what to do now. You know, financial support is not, you know, that much, but I know that with your help, you will let, and if it's your will, you will let my daughter live. And then after that, yeah, to make the long story short, I became well. Yeah, I you know, I don't know. Many people even said, what happened? It was a miracle nga nag-ayo ko, yeah, with that kind of disease. And yeah, I became well. And then later on, my mom met my stepfather, which Seventh-day Adventist. Okay. And then yeah, they got married, and I was baptized when I was, I think, 9 years old. I was baptized. And we attended Harrow Church together with Mom Jane. We came from the same church in Harrow. And yeah, actually, she was one of my mentor. And she was also one of the reason, uh, she was one of those people na naka-inspire sa akin why I joined 1000 Missionary Movement. And yeah, our family was very close. We were like, you know, brothers and sisters, you know, the whole family. And with, you know, because Mom Jane used to be my, actually, sorry, Mom Jane, ha? She used to be our teacher in the early teens, right, Miss Jane? Yeah. And we was so active in the church. And then later on, Mom Jane joined the 1000 Missionary Movement. And then when she came back, and then I also like, maybe I should try also. Why not? I want to try to, you know, join the 1000 Missionary Movement. But then that time, my mom also was very sick. She had cancer in her cervix. Okay, so she had cervical cancer, and it was so serious. So I asked my mom, Mom, I want to join 1000 Missionary Movement. But, you know, parents long time ago, I remember, my mom always said, oh, duwa lang gid ka mo, malakat ka pa gid. No? And hindi siya gusto nga magbulagay kami ba. So, and also I knew that because before I really wanted to be a missionary, I told her also, Mom, I want to study in MVC. I want to be a nurse. She said, oh, it's financially we're not that, you know, well off. So she was worried maybe they could not support me with the, you know, expenses there if I study in MVC. I told her, Mom, it's okay. I can just, you know, be a working student. And then and my stepfather also, yes, Papa Pidio, we call that. His name is El Pidio. So I said, Papa said, kung mag-working student ka, maabutan ka 10 years. Hala, so, ikul baan ko, singko, hala, uy. Singko, sige lang. But they didn't want me to go because, you know, it's the same thing. My mom said, duha lang gid kamo, mapalayo ka pagit. Yeah. Kung dito ka, budlayan ka kung wala to upod. So yeah, was not able to go to study in MVC, and then also the same experience when I wanted to be a missionary. But then later on, my mom died of cancer. Unfortunately, she died last 1998. But kung sa ano pa ba, naging hulat niya lang ang makagraduate ang sister sa college. Okay. And after that, life was so hard. We were with my stepdad, and I had to be strong. As the eldest of the family, I had to be strong. And with God's help, I was able to, you know, help both my stepdad and my sister kay do sa akon sila nakakuha sang strength my stepdad was so, he was crushed. Kay partner gina sila ni mama mo. They actually, my mom and my stepdad used to do the jail ministry in Iloilo. So when we were young, we used to go with them and sing there. So my mom and my stepdad would invite my sister and I to sing or to give some part there in the program. So he was so sad. Wala na si mama, and then later on he became sick also. So though it's so difficult for me, I was 26-year-old that time. So, and yeah, I was 26-year-old, and that time I was still jobless. Okay. So it was so difficult. Life was so difficult. Then a year after that, I decided to join the 1000 missionary movement. Then I contacted my aunts in Manila. Actually, I haven't, at that time, I did not see my relatives, my aunts, and even my father himself for around 22 years or 21 years. Because my real father, my biological father and my mother separated when I was only 4 years old, and my sister was only 3 months old that time. And then after that, we haven't seen him for a long time. And so I decided I want to go to Manila, but I didn't have money. So and that time when my mom died, when I contacted my aunt, then she said, okay, since your mom is already dead, you can come here to us in Manila. We could, help you and your sister. So I said, oh, maybe this, God's answer, makakadto ko sa Manila. And actually, in my mind, I want to go to Manila, not because just to see them, but my plan is this will be my ticket going to Manila to join the 1000 missionary movement. Okay, so yeah, to make the long story short, my sister and I went to Manila. Then yeah, we saw our aunts. They were so happy to see both of us because they haven't seen us for many years. And then we also, they managed to, let us meet our dad. So you imagine 21 years. I don't know if I could, at that time, 4 years old. I couldn't remember, I don't know if I could still remember my memories with my dad when I was young, because I was still young, just 4 years old. I know him because I saw his pictures. There were so many questions in my mind. So there were mixed emotions. Then my aunt said, okay, we'll meet your dad. Then when I met my dad, it's like he was just like a stranger to me. Didn't see him for 21 years and wala man lang kung saan, wala man lang nagparamdam. Didn't even support us. And he was just a complete stranger to me. But for him, of course, he was so happy to meet both of us. Was so happy. He hugged us, he embraced us. Of course, in order to respect him, of course, I didn't say anything. And then, yeah, he was so excited also and so happy to bring us to his cousins. They live in Cavite also. No, sorry, Dasmariñas, Cavite. So he said, okay, let's go and meet our my cousins and your lolas. So he brought us there to his relatives, and he was so happy and so proud. Oh, these are my daughters. They're so big now, and they are already teachers. And then, one of his cousins said, "Yeah, Bao, kaswerte ni Papa niyo, no, kaging siya, ngita niyo pa siya. Nga wala siya ganit ng ngita sa inyo." Sila, kung akong sa inyo, ay, kung siya ang tatay ko, hindi ko na siya pangitaon. So, doka ano bala? I know, but my father, he was there when his cousin said that. Deep inside, I know and I understand, no, kung ano ang pain nga na ano niya siguro, ang guilt niya. And for us, it was okay. It's okay. We're just smiling, this and that. And then later on, I thought when we stayed there for how many? I think how many days in Manila? I told my aunt I want to go to Silang Cavite, and I want to join the 1,000. I want to be a missionary. So I brought my sister there. Okay, actually it was my aunt who brought us there. So yeah, then I became a missionary, and I joined the 14th batch. Then I was assigned in South Korea, and I was a missionary in Korea for, I think, around 3 years, with 2 different churches. In one church, I served there for 1 year. It was the same, I think it was the same mission field of Mom Jane in Kobuk Sosan. Okay, and then after that, I was in Tean for 2 years. Then after that, I went back to the Philippines. Actually, I was planning to study in Korea, but so I went back to the Philippines, and then I stayed there for a year with my Korean family, because my translator in Korea in my church, she came back to the Philippines with me, and I stayed with them. They studied, her kids studied there in the Philippines for a year and stayed with them, and I was their private tutor. And then after that, I still continued serving God. And then, yeah, I was not able to go back to Korea to study for some reasons, and one of them is I met my husband there in 1,000 Missionary Movement, who was on 22nd batch. And so, yeah, after we got married, the day after we got married, I flew to Thailand. It was May 12. We got married May 12. And then the day after that, I came here to Thailand to teach. And then life here in Thailand, when I came here, was not that easy for me. 6 months, for 6 months, I didn't have a regular or permanent job, teaching job here in Thailand. I applied in many schools, but I don't know, maybe it was not, I don't say that I was rejected. It was not still God's will for me to work in those schools that I applied. So for 6 months, I only had, part-time jobs, different, I even had, there was a time that I was teaching uh, two different schools, 2 to 3 different schools in 1 week. So you have to transfer from one school to another. And yeah, for 6 months, it was like that. So I said, God, what will I do? It's already 6 months. I didn't have the regular job yet here in Thailand. Luckily, that time, of course, I still have at least pocket money that I could still use. Okay, the money that I saved from, you know, my tutorials in the Philippines. But then after 6 months, that time my husband was already came back in Thailand after a year. Yeah, after a year he came back. He came here to Thailand, and then that time when he came, I was already teaching, but I didn't have regular teaching, but I didn't have a work permit yet, so I had to exit. And after that, I had this part-time job in one of the companies, Michelin company here in Thailand. And yeah, taught there for, I was a part-time teacher there for around, I think, 3 months, only twice a week. And then that time I was already pregnant with my daughter. And then after that, I think it was March to 2006. Okay, March 2006, they told me, do you want to teach regular, to be our, you know, to be our regular teacher here in Michelin company? I said, wow, that would be great. So I don't need to, you know, keep on coming back here only twice a week, and, you know, with a very little, you know, salary. Okay. So long story short, I was accepted in Michelin company as a regular teacher there, and the salary, you know, was really great, really great. And I was so surprised because when I applied, they said, "How? What's your expected salary?" I said, "Okay, just enough to compensate my job." The people there in Michelin company, they know my performance, so just compensate me, you know, kung anong dapat. So my salary, the salary that I received was really far from what I've expected. So I really thank God for that, you know, waiting for how many months na I didn't have regular work. And then that time I was so happy. And even until now that, you know, I experienced a lot of problems, even in my personal life, in my marriage life. But I know that God is always there for me. God is always there, you know, to bless me, to bless my family, to bless my children, especially this time during the pandemic. Uh, my job was also affected, and hindi ka mo siguro mag ano nga ang akong salary. I only received 30% of my salary, which is even very low. You know, kung isipon mo, how can my children and I survive with this? But I prayed to God, God, ikaw na bahala. Ikaw na bahala sa amon. But then blessings came. God used people na hindi ko mga some of them that helped were not even, 7-day Adventists. Just met here in Thailand. And then one of my friend, she's in Phuket. She told me, Day, musta ka na da? Ore, okay lang. Affected ang job, amunay mo na. And then she said, Gay ko sang imo nga bank account. Kungaw. Yeah. Isendan ta ka kung ari ka lang dilapit sa akon, nasendan ta ka da sang ayuda. Sila yung sa akon. So, hindi lang So, kay, that person, she was one of the adopted mothers ang akon nga student sa school, sa dormitory. So she said, sige lang bala, send lang bala. And then, yeah, to make the long story short, she sent me money to help. And I really thank God nga, even though life is so tough, still He's there for me and my kids, providing help or assistance, any assistance that we could have. And also, right now, I can say, because I also told my school that I will not renew for another year, because honestly speaking, working in the dorm is really not good. There were times that I had to break my Sabbath, and because I have a duty, I had to stay in the dorm. So this year I decided hindi siya mayo para man a good example for my kids. So I decided not to renew. I just told them just this week that I will not renew. I'll just finish my contract this July. And I was so happy also that yesterday one of the Adventist school that I applied called me. Dai, 70% na ang possibility nga you will be accepted. So I praise God and I thank Him that He is always there to provide blessings or to give blessings to my kids. So to end this, because I know may masunod pa sa akon, I'll just read to you the text from, it's a very famous text, I think all of you know this. Jeremiah chapter 39 verse 11. It says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." So if we will just surrender everything to God, pray to God, and have faith in Him, God will always be there to help us. God promised that He will never leave us nor forsake us. So although I didn't receive the 100% answer to my prayer, but I know God in His own time, He will do and He will give everything to me and for me and for my kids in accordance to His will. So all we need to do is just surrender to God and let Him work for us. Okay, so thank you so much for listening and for giving me this time to share to you my testimony, and happy Sabbath day to all.
Amen.
Thank you.